Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Now, Mr. Speaker, my comment is about the mess we find ourselves in the implementation of the CBE. And I want to venture and say that one of the reasons that you need to deal with is how you relate with the National Assembly. Because the law is very clear that you cannot implement certain policies without reference to the National Assembly. Maybe some of the problems you're going through would not actually be a challenge had these proposals been brought to the Assembly so that we deal with them as regulations. That way would have given you a better way of handling these things, as opposed to doing it in your office, because your ministry is known to be one of the most notorious in passing regulations in the form of circulars, in the form of, I don't know what opinions and communiques from your office. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Number two, you may proceed. And Waziri, you can also have some questions taken by your team if you want to transfer some of them, but you can note them all down. Proceed, Honorable Baya.
Thank you, Waziri, for the presentation, but I want to ask this question, and my question will be on equity and equality and access to educational places. And I want to say this. We see a huge inequality and inequality gaps. I'll give you one example. I have a national school, or a C1 school in my constituency called Bahari Girls. It has a deficit of 26 teachers. 26 BOM teachers are employed by and this is a C1 or national school. The deficit in, for example, the region of Coast is almost 50% of teachers that are in the establishment are not available, while other regions have almost 90%. This in itself creates an inequality both at the school level and also at the national level in terms of resource allocation. Even when populations versus the populations of other areas are almost the same. But you'll find, and I'll use this crude example, you'll find, for example, a place in Central has 10% deficit of teachers. Coast has 60% deficit in terms of teachers. Secondly, Honorable Speaker, the same thing, Honorable. When it comes to places of education, there are regions in this country that were blessed with schools earlier than other regions, where the Europeans went there, built very nice schools and all that. Now they want to charge school fees at 500. While other regions are still struggling to put up places for education, infrastructure. But again, government comes in and still allocates resources, more resources to those regions than the regions that have, for a long time, remained underserved. So we have underserved regions in this country that continue to be underserved, and other regions that were properly served that continue to be even more properly served. This creates inequality in this country. And when we are in this space as leaders, Honorable Speaker, we have a great opportunity to change the story, the narrative, so that the people in other regions, you see, Honorable Speaker, it comes back to when these people are not going to school properly and getting good grades, others are getting grades, they get the better jobs all the time, while the other regions continue to get the lower jobs, Honorable Speaker. So what will you do as minister?
Point made.
I just want to ask the question. What will you do as minister to equal the imbalance that we have in this country in terms of education and continuing to subdue other places and appraise other places? What will you do? I thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Bashir. You're next.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, Honorable CS for the presentation. I ride on the same that Honorable Brian Owen has just said. It's about school infrastructure. I've observed, I've been around for a while, that the infrastructure funds that you allocate to schools by your ministry is heavily skewed. I think you have the issue of, in quotes, high potential areas, low potential areas, even in education. in my area, and especially in the north, you have left issues of infrastructure entirely to CDF, while other regions, you complement them with the infrastructure funds. Now, you have talked about 1,600 laboratories in 1,450 schools. Where is the list? Why don't you publish that list in your website so that we see which schools are benefiting? Why is it a secret? And from which areas? So my question is, provide us with a list of these laboratories plus the 8 years funding that you have done to each of the schools in each of the constituencies in a table, provide to Parliament so that we can see where these funds have gone to. It's unfortunate that some of us are heavily building on the little CDF we have, while others